Do I have to click something on OK?
Nope, you're good. You might want to move your mouse out of the way. It's on there. Yeah, you go. There you go. Alrighty, everyone. Looks like we're live. My name is Rachel with Aging Advantage, and Aging Advantage is a nonprofit that assists disabled adults and seniors in the St. Louis area. And today we have Linda here to speak with us about aging in place. So I'll go ahead and let you take it away, Linda.
Thanks so much, and thank you for having me today. It's my privilege as an experienced professional and somebody who has helped not only clients, but also my own family walk through life and the aging process that I can allow you to have the benefit of my experience. So consider me your trusted professional today as we talk about aging in place. And a little bit about me. I have been working in the aging in place field for 20 plus years. And 2 years ago, I decided that seniors needed to know how to age in place successfully and all the topics related to that. And so I started a podcast called Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, and then recently launched a bigger brand of seniorsupportstrategies.com. So you can always find me there. But I've always loved seniors. I love stories. I love wisdom. I love being in their company. Uh, and it was only natural that I would begin a career in helping seniors and their families, care partners, and professionals navigate the healthcare system, which, even if you're a professional in healthcare, it is not easy. So, thank you for joining Aging Advantage and for listening to me today, because it's my pleasure to be with you. So today we're going to be talking about aging in place. That is our topic. And there's a few things that we need to know if we're going to be interested in planning and preparing to age in place. So we're going to define what that term is, but we're also going to be talking about very specific items that need to be included. So it's not just saying, I want to age in place, and then all of a sudden it miraculously happens and everything goes really well. If that were the case, I wouldn't have a job. And if that were the case, Aging Advantage wouldn't do what they do, because it rarely goes well, and it goes better if you plan. So that's why we're going to talk about this subject. In reality, I want you to know that less than 20% of all seniors actually move to a higher level of care. So while you see senior aging properties all over and on every corner, I'm going to assure you that not all of those buildings are full. There is a cost to community living. There is a cost to aging in place. And so going into this time of your life and thinking about this requires that we have a really honest conversation about it. Now, when I'm at health fairs and other opportunities where I get to talk to seniors and I say, have you ever thought about aging in place? Many seniors will say, yes, that's where I want to age. That sounds good to me, because I suspect that they are asking themselves questions like, what's it going to look like when I age? They probably have helped somebody through that process, but they're starting to wonder about that for themselves. But home is best. You know, home sweet home is what we call it. It's where we've made our memories, it's where our stuff is, and it's where we feel most comfortable. And it's a pattern of living that we have established that makes us feel comfortable, and it gives us the quality of life that we want as we age. So, aging in place, that's what people want. And it really sounds great, doesn't it? Well, I was looking at a survey that took place a couple of years ago. And in that survey, it said the vast majority of people, and there were a lot of people surveyed, really desired to age in place. And I will tell you that as a professional in the senior living community, that this is true. Most people want to contemplate this and think about this and have a desire to do this, but failure to plan gives us fewer choices, which I is why I appreciate why Aging Advantage is giving me the opportunity to be with you today. So, if I was going to ask you if you wanted to age in place, sorry, I'm having some issues here. My screen is not advancing. Anyway, we're moving on. Sorry, my screen is frozen. It's not advancing. Oh, there it went. Now it went. Sorry. These are some, this is what we want to do. Pardon me. Um, Before we get started, we want to talk about whether or not what the definition of aging in place is. So here it is on your screen for you to see that aging in place is the ability to live and age safely in your residence of choice for as long as possible. And if or when your health needs change, you will add support services to maintain your independence and maintain your properties. So there's some key words in there I want you to see. Aging in place is the ability to live and age safely, keyword safely. And then the other word I want you to see is residence of choice, because that may be your present home, it might be the right sized home, it might be community living after all. But the other key component to aging in place is that if or when your health needs could change, you're probably going to have to consider support services to help you maintain your independence as well as your property. So that is aging in place safely. Now, here are some items that you and I are going to want to consider when we think about putting an aging in place plan together. And the first one is your home affordable? You know, it's important to figure out whether or not you can sustain your quality of life as you age. So, desiring to age in place is one thing, being able to afford that lifestyle is another, and maybe there might be some adjustments to that. Do you need to create a spreadsheet so that you can determine whether or not you can afford your home now, but also in the future? If you're a two-income household or a one-income household, what do those numbers look like? And sometimes people have a mortgage on their home that they're still paying on. So it's very important to take a really good look at what you're paying for. And then, is your home still affordable to you now and then possibly in the future? And if it's affordable now, great, but understand that nothing stays the same and the cost of living continues to rise. So it is good to make some projections. And if you need help and you have a financial planner, they can definitely help you with that. There should be some items on your annual home maintenance list all the time, looking at your home and maintaining your property, because your home is a valuable asset, and it is the exact asset that many seniors want to utilize as they age. So if they should have to pull some of the equity out in order to age in place, or they need to pull the equity so that they can afford community living, you're going to want to make sure that your home it has been kept up to speed. Now, is your home age friendly? Now, what does that really mean, age friendly? Well, here is an example that I can give you. And I met a gentleman who lived in a community. He and his wife had moved in at a relatively young age, and they decided that community living was just not for them. They were in independent living, so they were still very independent, and they just decided, you know what, we did this prematurely. We liked it, but now we don't. And they decided that they wanted to buy a home. And this gentleman contacted me and he said, I was wondering if you could come over and do a consultation with me to see if my home is age friendly. He said, I have arranged for some contractors to come through my home and to address certain issues that will help us to live in this home now and then also in the future. So I did so. I went over, I noticed some items, asked him some questions, and by the time I left, he felt very confident that this home would serve he and his wife well, not only presently, but moving forward. So asking yourself, is my home age friendly? Are there going to be some fall hazards or some ways that I won't be able to access getting in my home or out of my home? So very important question to ask yourself. And then another topic that relates back to aging in place is, do you feel safe in your home? And that is a question that only you can answer. But if you don't feel safe, you're not going to want to sleep at night. And if you don't feel safe, you're going to be concerned about that. And those concerns can really wreak havoc on your mental and physical health. So ask the question, do you feel safe in your home? And then you want to have good access to health care, to exercise, and social connections, because the research shows that this is what helps you to live longer. When you have good access to healthcare, you're able to get to your doctors. It is not far away from where you live. And you have an ability to be with other seniors or other people, whether that's church, whether that's community programs, whether that's theater, whether it's art, whether it's interest groups, and then, of course, exercise. We can deny that exercise is important, but reality tells us, the research is in, that when you exercise, you are able to enjoy the longevity that you have in retirement. And then you may not need this service now, but eventually it might happen. Either you're having a current health episode, an unexpected health episode, or as you age, some things that you've been able to do well and do easily and stay on top of are not as easy for you to do. So what kind of support do you feel that you can count on so that you can live safe at home safely and independently? And over the years, I've had many clients who've said, will you be there for us when we age? And I say, sure, we will. How about we do an agreement now so that when you get to that point, you know that that's already in place and you can let your support system know. So here are a couple of things that I was telling you about. Is your home affordable and how to work out those numbers? On my podcast, I did a whole section on real estate and the real estate market, and then finding out whether or not you truly can live at home and afford it. As I said, I've always enjoyed talking to seniors and learning from them. And I remember one day my father told me, he said, well, the house is paid for, but it's not free to live here. And I looked at him and I thought, what are you saying? And in my naivete of my youth, I didn't get it, right? I was just not even a homeowner yet, and I just didn't understand what he was saying. But yes, we have to look at these numbers. There are still expenses even if you own your home. So creating spreadsheets, simple, write them out. I don't care. If you're really knowledgeable, put them, use all of the technology available to you to make this easy for you, and amend them every year as those prices and service fees go up. But obviously, we need to look at income versus expenses. And when those numbers don't jive, they're never going to jive unless you decide to add income from a job or you decide to downsize or right size. So it's very important that you do the numbers. It's important that you consider whether or not you're a two-income household and what might happen if one of you should pass and you don't have that income. So you really need two spreadsheets, one that includes your income, one that would be on the surviving spouse or the surviving partner. And then, of course, if you're a one income household, then that's one spreadsheet. And then what do those numbers really tell you about what is going on and if your house is affordable? And then we turn our gaze again towards the house. When you maintain your home inside and outside, it protects the value of your home. Now, as I mentioned, I had a whole section on real estate. And this is what I found out from the realtors that I interviewed on my podcast called Aging in Place Strategies and Answers. Realtors are not coming in to look at your furnishings, your countertops, your flooring, your art. They are actually more concerned about your home's foundation, the concrete work, the HVAC system, the roof, and the other high ticket items. So if that is what the real estate agents are going to be noticing, that is also a part of your home value, then you need to be thinking about that as well. I want to give you an example of how important that is. I have a friend, and she shared with me that she got a call from her insurance man, her broker. And he said to her, it has come up on our radar that the company that you're insured with right now is going to cease to do business in your state, which means that you're going to have to switch to another company. And that company is not going to insure your roof. They will raise a red flag and use that as one of the reasons why you might not be able to get insurance unless you pay to have your roof redone. And as you know, roofs are not cheap. So fortunately, she had a really great broker who advised her of that. But secondly, she was able to get her roof done with her current insurance plan, which saved her money. There was storm damage and other things. And now she's in a good position for when the next company, the next insurance company takes over her policy. So that's an example of why these maintenance items are so important. But in my professional career, we had a client who lived in a very exclusive neighborhood. And so it was high dollar real estate. But when we were working with them, we could see that they had not maintained the home and were now, instead of living in the whole home, we're only living in two rooms, but the other rooms were in serious disrepair. So while they were aging in place, they were not protecting that particular asset of money. So something to think about as you think about aging in place, and will you need that asset to help you, and you will have a better opportunity to sell and get the right amount of money if you're paying attention to your home maintenance. But certainly as we age, things that didn't bother us before are more difficult now. I broke my foot in the fall, And we're now in the spring, so I'm in a better place than I was. But those stairs, I have 13 stairs. And so those stairs were really hard to negotiate when I had 1 foot. So fortunately, I've been able to get back on both feet, and the stairs are not a problem. But in many cases, or in some instances, the stairs could be a not negotiable. So you want to make sure that you have easy access. Consider the stairs. Are they becoming problematic? There's all kinds of things and adaptations that can be made. Particularly look at these items. The entrances and exits to your home should be you should be able to get in and out of your home. But would you be able to get in and out of your home if your mobility was compromised, if you were dependent on a walker, a cane, maybe a wheelchair? How would those entrances need to be adjusted? Would it be really expensive? Would it be really easy? You have to think of those things. Sometimes when we have had clients in the hospital and they're returning home, nobody has thought about how we're going to get them into the house. And guess what? When you don't think those things through, you go right back to the hospital. Your family just turns around and takes you right back to the hospital because they can't get you into the house. So entrances and exits are important. Bathrooms, where the majority of falls do occur, these need to be safe. And while you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, there are simple adaptations that can be put into place. And fortunately, we live in a day and time where technology has improved and what we call durable medical equipment is easily available even at a hardware store or online that you can purchase to put into place. You want to examine the flooring. When I went out to visit with that gentleman who had me out to do a consultation, I did notice that they had different kinds of flooring in the house, and just reminded him to have zero have no difficulty getting from one room to the next. So in some houses I've been in, between the rooms, they might have a raised piece, and that raised piece is not easy to get your wheelchair over, nor is it easy for someone pushing a walker, and increases the risk of fall. Maybe if you're not picking your feet up enough, then that can also be a little bit of a fall risk. And some folks live in homes where laundry's still in the basement. And so many times calls are made to help seniors get their laundry done. So just be aware of these items if you're looking at your home and the maintenance and the modifications that might need to take place. And then location, location, location. I know you've heard that term before, and I just had to use it because I think every year we need to evaluate our neighborhoods and our communities. Do you still feel safe in your home and your community? When you look around, do you see a support system? Somebody you could call in case of an emergency, or nobody you know on the block, nobody you would trust, nobody that you could get in a pinch. But also your community, where you're going to be going, the grocery store, the bank, parking. Is your community safe? Does it still meet your needs? And these are important things to consider, as well as, again, accessing healthcare. Do you have easy access to healthcare? Is it going to be quite a trip? Is it going to be miles from your home? What do you need to be doing to think about that as your ability to get out and about might become compromised as you age? And then because we know social connections and community is so important to folks who live at home, that it's important for you to be aware of what your community offers. Your library, your church, maybe the YMCA. Where can you go to connect with seniors socially? Do you enjoy theater? Do you enjoy the arts? Are you able to participate in those events? Is it easy to get to those things? Because these are the items that when we don't connect socially and we're not a part of the community, they really affect our mental and physical health. And then I was talking to someone whose mom lived in the States and they lived in Canada. And so I had to put this question on our discussion for today. Is where you're living, is your location easy for your support system to get to in case of emergency? And we all think none of this is going to happen. I don't need to depend on anybody, but that's just a false reality. That's just something you're telling yourself. But in this case, how does someone who live in Canada take care of their mom? Should the mom move to Canada? Probably not. But maybe they need a company like Aging Advantage to be boots on the ground when something occurs. That's using professionals to your advantage so that you can enjoy where you're living, but you've thought about how you're going to manage if your support system is unable to get to you in a case of emergency. And if that's not something that you'd like to do, then you might need to amend where you're going to age. Retaining your independence is also a key factor in aging in place. And here is a fact. This is just fact of life. I didn't make it up. Don't hold me responsible. It's just the truth. As you age, your healthcare needs and your ability to perform daily tasks will change. Now, how much it will change depends entirely on you, depends on genetics and diagnoses and all these things and how much support you have. But this is going to be a fact. And the other factor that I think people are slow to understand and to realize is that there are costs associated with aging in place, just like there are costs associated to community style living. There is no free plan. And after 20 years in the aging in place career, I can tell you that is really a fact. So just being honest and just being totally transparent as we're trying to create an aging in place strategy. Okay. Now, a support system is going to be very helpful if we accept those two facts. And I feel in this way, in this area, that it is extremely important to have realistic expectations. I do not think it's realistic for you to hire your housekeeper to take you to the bathroom. No more than I think that you should expect a church member to provide personal care assistance. I also understand being a family member and being a care partner over my years to my family members that I did go above and beyond, and almost to the detriment of my own health and to my family's health. So it is important that you create a support system. Who are they? Who are those people? Who are you depending on? Do you know? And if you don't know, now's the time to start making that list. And then to be very realistic. When you have unrealistic expectations, even of friends, they're happy to be your friends when times are good. But when things get hard, you will notice that they're not as readily available, or I can't do that, or no, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with that, or I'm happy to take you to the doctor, but I have my own healthcare needs. All those are precursors and should be taken as tips that you're about to walk over the line with your support system. So creating a support system and having realistic expectations and realistic conversations, and then understanding that when you've gone over and above what your unpaid care partner will provide, then there are professionals available to help you. And yes, there is a cost associated with that. Now, it's also very important that you identify an advocate, somebody who's going to be there for you and advocate for you, and that's called a power of attorney. And so, if you have not done that, if you have not created any power of attorney documents or healthcare directives, Please do not wait. Do it today. Please call and make appointments with an attorney who can help you through that process, and begin to identify who might advocate for you. Another job done by Aging Advantage or a professional such as myself can be an advocate and would be there for you when your family cannot, but then could report to the family. I have a lot of resources at my fingertips, and that's what professionals do. When it's not in their wheelhouse, they refer. And so those professional referrals are always very important. But now's the time to begin this process. And this is why I always say contact a professional. You know, when we think about this aging in place strategy, I like to look at aging in place almost like an assisted living at home. But if you don't work in the healthcare field, you probably don't know what an assisted living provides. And so this is why I always say that it's important that you get professional advice. Why? They're professionals in their field. They know how to do it. Not only are we good at pre-planning, we're also good in crisis, because chances are if it's happening to you, it's happened before. And because we're professionals and we don't have, we're like a third party, we're unbiased, and we can do the assessments and the evaluations, we can see the forest for the trees. Whereas your family members or those who know you are going to be limited in their perspective, which is why the rule has always existed that doctors do not care for their own family, because they wouldn't be able to see or operate and separate themselves from that picture. I also know after years of experience that consulting a professional will save you time, money, and mistakes. And the example I love to give is a professional roofer. Okay. So just take it that my goal is to age in place. And let's use this example of the recent rains that we had, and all of a sudden now I have a leak in my kitchen. And I'm going to be honest, I can do a lot of things and I try things, but I am not going to go in my garage and get the ladder out. First of all, it's really heavy and it's really long because, if you have a house with 2 levels, you got to have a tall ladder. So first of all, that's my first thing. Second is I could put it against the house, managing it out there and then putting it against the house. I could do that. But what am I going to really look up? What am I going to do? Climb up the roof, up on the ladder, and then I'm going to look at, what am I looking at? I don't even know. I'm not a roofer. I don't even know what to look at. So it's just, that's wasted time and energy on something that I cannot problem solve. I don't have the expertise for it. So I'm probably going to call a referral that I've received from somebody that I like and know who's had some work done on their roof. And then I'm going to call the guy. I'm probably going to call three, why not get three estimates? And then I'm sure the first guy is going to tell me a little bit about my roof. He's going to put the ladder up. He's going to look for what he needs to go. And then he's probably going to make other assessments as well. And he may very well tell me that I do need roof work. But before I do that, the underlayment's bad. So I'm just saying, over my years of experience, you can take this as a fact too, that professionals save you time, money, and mistakes. And really at the end of the day, that makes it makes it easier to accomplish what we're trying to do. And that is to create a strategy where we can age in place successfully, safely, for as long as we want to, retaining the quality of our life, the quality of life that we already have, but then being realistic about the fact that things will change as we age, And we want to maintain that large asset class, which is our home equity. But we also understand that we may need more support and being willing and open to have that conversation. And you know what I love even more about aging in place is that if I decide that I don't want to live in my present home, I can move. I can downsize or right size. I can also look for affordable living if that is more affordable to me and I meet their criteria. Or I might decide, you know what, I've lived on my own for 20 years and now I'm ready for community style living. That's going to be my new aging in place strategy. So I want to thank you for listening to me today. And if you would like to find out more about who I am and what I do, please check out my website, seniorsupportstrategies.com. And thank you, Aging Advantage.
Thank you, Miss Linda.
Yeah, our
Oh,
pleasure
very.
having you today. Such a plethora of information.
Yes. One question I did have, Linda, is it was I know it's like several things are coming up. I always said I should have my notebook, well, when I'm at home I do, but anyhow, is there a time frame or I guess something that you would suggest? When is it time to really start looking at whether or not to age in place at home or creating your strategy, should I say?
Yes, I would say when you're planning to retire, that's the best time.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
So you're already going to see a change in income when you retire,
okay,
and that change in income will affect your what you want to do next.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
And so many folks have given some thought to an attorney, and to a financial planner. So those are really good times to begin the plan and the conversation.
okay,
If it hasn't happened and you're an adult child working with your parents
okay,
and you can see things starting to change, that is a good time to open
okay,
up that door and have that conversation.
okay,
If you're a senior professional and you're called in to talk and consult with somebody and you're seeing that needs are changing, now's the time to say, what do you want to do? What's the best thing for you? I mean, there's cost to both, but what do you want to do? Let's create what you want to do. And then, as a professional, of course, you're gonna connect them with the people who got the keys to the finances, right? So that they can take a realistic point of view. And I think that's kind of our job, isn't it? Managing expectations, right?
yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
right.
so I would say pre-planning at retirement, also as those healthcare needs plan to change, and you're called in to either consult or to work with your parents or whomever and to open that door and say, hey, what's next for you? What do you want to do? And really, people don't know.
Yeah,
And then that if for some reason you haven't gotten at that stage, the next one would be a diagnosis. Some people, I was talking to a doctor the other day and he said, my mother has been diagnosed with dementia. He
mhm,
said, medically, there is nothing more that we can do for her. And I said, but there's so much more to life.
yeah,
She is here in her journey. Now, what can we do to help her to have the best journey possible? And I would say also at the point of diagnosis that that is a good planning stage as well, right?
okay. Yeah, I believe so too. I agree with you. Have you found in your line of work, even though, to us it may seem like that's a good time, of course, when any senior, most seniors anyway, I should say, when you have to move them from their comfort zone or start talking about the uncomfortable um, things that may occur in life for them, what would you say has been maybe, or do you know, what is one of the most difficult questions or answers, or how do you navigate through that most difficult question, or idea of, okay, it's time to start talking about some pre-planning of some other things at this point?
Yes,
What do you
yes.
say, like an icebreaker or something? What would you consider or suggest that, people
Yeah, I
should?
and I say always say, respect. Respect is at the forefront because as you guys know, I think you're both social workers, we respect the right to self-determination. But I also say when you are respectful and you put this back in their, uh, you know, what do you want to do? The answers that come forth are going to be a good indicator of where they are mentally or emotionally. Um, so some will say, I trust your decisions. Like my mom told me, Linda, I trust your decisions for what is best for me. And then we would talk about it and then we would move forward. But she had a level of trust.
Okay, okay.
And other
See that.
people, when they have that conversation, and we know that family relationships are very different. So
Mm,
some people have been marched to the front door and kicked out of the house, and they haven't talked to their loved one
mm,
again.
yeah.
Others, uh, I think we just need to be aware that sometimes people can't, as they age, can lose their executive function, their
Okay,
decision-making ability. And
okay.
so if that's the case, and you've suggested things, or let's talk about this, or they put you off, or they're not bringing anything to the table,
Hmm.
I would then suggest assessments.
Okay.
Because what we find many times is, let's say that the gentleman, just for the sake of this conversation, that the gentleman has dementia and the wife has been in charge of the care and the kids are wanting her to make decisions and she's not making decisions. And the stuff that this was an actual client I was hearing, I'm like, something's not right here. So when our care manager went out and assessed, she found what I figured is that she didn't have executive functioning. So
Mm,
how does somebody who's lost that ability to do that then plan? So now they're going to need more hand holding, but they
no.
can still make decisions. Do you want to
Hmm.
stay in your home or do you think it's time to move to a community? There's really like nice communities. Let's just go look at one. There's no harm, no foul, you know?
Okay.
But I do think that once you start that conversations, but it never could, you're gonna have to, and shaking your hand and all that stuff, and then realizing that because family relationships or personal relationships can be challenging, this is the advantage of that third party, right?
Okay. Okay.
You sometimes become the buffer between those relationships,
Yes.
and you can accomplish more than they can because there's just not a good working environment. There never has been. Why are we expecting it now as seniors? No, better to get that third party.
Sounds good. I agree. I agree. That's good. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And I look forward to working with you guys.
Any other questions, Rachel?
I think
You
that's
okay?
all. I feel like
Yeah.
everything I had questions about, she answered in the
And
presentation, so that's awesome.
Oh, good. I'm so
great.
glad. I'm so glad.
Yes. Well, again, Miss Linda. Oh, I keep forgetting. Rachel, this is your floor. Go ahead.
That's okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming today, and we'll go ahead and end it there.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you again. Bye.
And then where can